Hope you're all having a great day today. Today is it's an exciting one for me, you guys. So we've got the driveway cut in, and now we can start working on where the shop's gonna go. So previously, in all of my woodworking, all of my DIYing, and all of my making, I would refer to the shop as a space indoors. And now I'm going to have a shop space, or a shop area, specifically 2 acres for the shop. We're dedicating 2 acres to having the shop built. We're going to divide this 2 acres. It's going to be 2 square acres side by side, and that'll be divided up into 3 zones. Zone 1 is obviously where the shop is. It's going to be on one end of it. Zone 2 is in the middle, and that's where the tractor and the tractor working area, I guess you could say, the outdoor working area will be in the middle. Also, that's where the sawmill will go. Eventually I'm going to get a sawmill. I don't know when, because it's a matter of whenever the timing becomes appropriate. I have someone's calling me right now. Oh, you can wait. Whenever the timing is appropriate, we'll get the sawmill, but I'm going to have a sawmill. And then on the 3rd zone, opposite of the shop, is going to be like the cleanup and processing zone, the burn pile, the place where, all the sawmill offcuts are either chipped. That's what it'll be. On one side of that zone 3 will be the burn pile to get rid of excess stuff. And on the other side of zone 3 will be like, log staging and probably a pile for the wood chips, right? So we're going to be doing a lot of wood chipping, chip it all into a pile to where it's going to be easy to scoop up and, do whatever with it. So 3 zones for this 2 acres. For this next phase before the house is built, the camper will be parked inside the shop. So obviously it'll be home for right now. But once the house is built elsewhere on the property and the camper's moved out or whatever, then I'll have a nice big working shop that I can work inside of and outside of. I just have this essentially a 2-acre workshop area. So as you can tell, I'm in the middle of the woods. It's kind of thick right here. And oh, by the way, this is a summertime long sleeve, and I'm not a big fan of summertime long sleeves. But when you're dealing with the woods and the bugs and sawdust and chips everywhere from chainsaw and mud and all this stuff, it's way cooler. This is the first clothing that I've ever had long sleeves in the summertime where I'm like, yeah, it's actually cooler to wear. I'll talk about that down the road, because I do want to mention stuff about that. So let me tell you exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to go back out here to the driveway. It's real thick right up here at the driveway, and I'll tell you what I'm doing with this spray paint real quick. Let me flip you around. All right, so I just crawled out of the woods and I don't know if you heard me complaining on social media, but mud, man, rain. It's rainy season. It'll pretty much dry out here soon, so we'll be wishing we had this water in just a little while, but as of right now I want stuff done. So anyway. Oh, look at this. It just rained, right? Got some deer tracks right there. Not too big. Pretty pronounced. Let's see what else we find up here. Right next to where we're going to be. Hold on. Oh, I just found a distraction. I gotta pause for a second and find some more deer tracks. Oh, right there. Hello, buddy. Hello, buddy, dear friends. So yeah, we've got a bunch of deer in here apparently. I already knew that, but there you go. So the driveway is going to come in, plenty of privacy from the road. If you watched my initial map video, I said from the very beginning that the plan was going to change, because it's just impossible to plan out all these little variables before you're actually on the land and really here. So we're not way over there with the house and shop like we wanted to. We're actually about 1,400 feet away. So I was close a little bit. All right, so the driveway comes here. I'm gonna turn around, and this painted pole right here, is where I told him to stop for the driveway. So we got this far, and then rain has been kicking our butt. So now it's kind of evident here that you can see when we made the driveway, I told him wherever the four-wheeler trail was, I want the driveway to be on this side of it so that the four-wheeler trail is this side of the driveway. So we're coming in, and now rather than continuing the driveway all the way up here and cutting into the left side, because as I'm standing, this driveway or this four-wheeler path, it splits the hardwood side on the left and the pine side on the right. I want to save as much of the hardwood side as I can. Now, of course, there's some pines right here as I'm, well, that's not a pine, but there's some pine. Yeah, it is a pine. Anyway, there's some pines right there. They do kind of spill out over there, but primarily it's pines on the right, hardwoods on the left. And then the driveway is going to kind of funnel off and taper to the right. So here is the start of those 2 acres for the shop. Now, 2 acres, right? How much actual space is that? Well, a square acre is 208 feet on each side. I'm not worried about the 8 feet. I'll just round it down to 200 feet. So 200 feet square is, I'm trying to get 2 of those squares side by side. I have I'll show you in just a second, a 100-foot high-vis orange paracord. Tied it to this tree, pulled it off that way, marked 100 feet. Disconnected from the tree, dragged that way, marked 200 feet, marked 300 feet, and I marked 400 feet. So I'm going exactly 400 feet that way. Now we're punching in this way by 2 lengths of that paracord, so 200 feet. So essentially, the clearing, the 2 acres, will be 200-ish feet by 400-ish feet, which is just slightly less than the absolute actual, what is that? That's 208 feet by 416 feet, right? So 8 feet shy, 16 feet shy in each direction. Close enough. So now what I'm doing, I also started, I think I used that tree as the start because I did not want to include the four-wheeler trail in the measurements here. So I started off at this tree and I pulled that way, 1 length of it. And as I pulled, this is right up at the front is dense, right? So as I pulled, I'm marking these trees with paint, the bigger ones, and these big pines are the perimeter line of this clearing. So that means these other big pines here in the middle, they got to come down. They've got to come down. So there's the perimeter here, perimeter there, goes back and back and back. So what's my plan with all of this material in here? I don't know if I said this or not because I like to ramble, but we can't save everything, right? This is, if I was taking my time with this, I could probably be very meticulous and go through every one of these trees and saplings and divide them up by size and start processing them by use, firewood, sawmill wood, all that stuff. But I can't, not for these 2 acres. I can't divide up every little thing because of time constraints. But what I can do, oh, there's my paracord. So this is the second length of it. It starts right there behind that tree. Like I said, I'm marking each length of the paracord. So that says 100. The sunlight's crazy. And then we're starting right here. So there's another 100 feet. But what I can do as far as saving these trees, talk to the guy who's running the mini excavator here. Rather large mini excavator. He said that there shouldn't be any problem for him to take out all the small stuff quickly and easily, obviously. But the large diameter trees, oh, that's a big one right there. That's going to be a lot of material. So is that one. The larger diameter trees, he said the easiest thing to get the best amount of material out of them is to let him come in and clear out the underbrush and the small stuff, and then let him knock over all the big trees. At that point, I can log them up into manageable sections, and then he can organize the big logs for me to use down the road. So that's the plan. We're saving as much of this big stuff as we can. All the little stuff, sorry, but sorry, but yeah, I'm not keeping every bit of it. I'd love to, but I can't. So on the back side of this little 2 acres, I'm doubling up the stripes just for me to know exactly where I'm at. This is the back side, so I'm currently 200 feet away from the driveway and the 4-wheeler trail that way. And now I need to go 400 feet this way. Luckily, see, these pines, this is not natural, right? So anyone saying that I'm destroying the natural beauty of whatever, this is not natural at all. At one point, somebody clear cut this into pasture. At one point, this was all pasture. They destroyed everything that was here originally, and then they came back and planted these pines. Mississippi is a huge pine market. Bugs, sorry. So they row plant these loblolly pines. I think these are loblolly pines. I'm not sure. It's the most common pine around here that people plant for industry purposes. And then this set over here has clearly been thinned years and years and years ago. It's been neglected a little bit, but it's clearly was thinned at least once to get it going. So now I have these lanes in between these large trees. Like where I'm standing right now, I think this parallels the back edge of the property, back edge of the 2 acres, and it's a clear lane. Like if I wanted to turn this into a trail, it would have been perfect to just drive the tractor right through these saplings right in the middle, and then use these bigger trees, go away, bigger trees as the perimeter of the trail. But rather than perimeter of trail, like I said, we're doing the backside. All right, I need to shut up for a second. I got this side done. He's about to be here to start in on here and work this way. So I need to do the exact same thing I did with this side on the other side. And then once I'm at the back side of the other side, I'll work my way back this way, looking for that marking and looking for this marking to kind of connect these dots in somewhat of a straight line-ish, hopefully. Man, I'm having so much fun out here. This is like rewarding work, you know. It's a direct effect on my life, you know, and it's very purposeful work, and it's exciting. I don't know how much I can share that or how much that comes through in these videos, but I'm excited. I'm having the time of my life out here, you guys. All right, so when I'm doing this paracord, laying out this line, I want, for the very first one, just the first one, I don't quite know my path just yet, and I'm trying to eyeball perpendicular to the trail that I'm on. So I want this to not move. I want this end to not move. And quick little knot right here, and you do a slip knot around the tree. However, doing a slip knot requires you to pull the entire length of line back through it to start it. Yeah, no big deal. But then I got to do the exact same thing to remove it. And I don't want to do that because I want to mark the end of the trail, right? Or the end of the line, so I can just drag it and start over up there, right? So instead of using this, I'm going to use one of the handiest things in the world, my skeletal. I've had this for so many years. And by that, I think I mean 3. So I've had this about 3 years. I've sharpened it so much that all the serrations are gone on there. And it was one of those things that was like, you know what? I see a lot of people like these multi-tools. I don't care what brand, but I see a lot of people like these multi-tools. I'm going to try and keep one on me and see if it's handy. The very first time, the very first day, I should say, I used the pliers to fix my daughter's bike, the training wheels on it. And I remember that because it was a light bulb moment, and I'm like, oh crap, the very first day, and I'm getting good use out of this. I think I'm going to stick with this. Well, here we are 3 years later. And this is a really, really nice one. I think so anyway. I'm a fan of it. It's a skeletal. I've lost the insert there for the Phillips or flathead. And then there's another one that stays in this side. I lost both of those. So it's no longer a screwdriver. But it's still a knife. It's still a set of pliers. And there are so many other uses for this thing that I find all the time. Pulling cotter pins or pulling pins on tractors and such that are stuck and just in a weird location. You can use the carabiner here to just grab it, and then you have a much better purchase, you know, a good handle to grab and pull that out. I do that a lot with this thing. And in this case, rather than making this slip knot, I can use the carabiner here, which I'm using one hand, so I don't know if it's the easiest thing in the world. But now I can connect the dots here as a carabiner at me at all times without having to make that slip knot and go through that process of running the whole line through that loop. So now once I'm done with this, and let's just say I drag it out the way that I want it to drag out, and I just need to disconnect it right here. Well, I can just disconnect it and then I'm good to go. It's the little things in life, folks. That right there is a handy little aha moment, right? These things are so handy. Thumbs up. All right, rope is clipped on the tree. Give it a little tug there. All right, it's on the tree, and then the tag end is way down there. I'm dragging this paracord as I go, just because it's kind of difficult to bunch up every single time, but I'm dragging it right through poison ivy. There's, I think I'm at one of the only spots on the property. These bugs are ridiculous. That doesn't have poison ivy, I guess. But I know I'm dragging it through it. So what I'm trying to do is, as I'm pulling it, I'm letting it wrap around the cap using that lip kind of as a holder, and I'm just walking and pulling, so I can still manage the wire, but I'm as little physical contact with it as possible, because I know for sure this has been dragging through poison ivy. I had a recent poison ivy reaction, and I'm much more educated now, we'll say. So I've got some big trees to target up there, and I'll see you in a minute. First length of rope is pulled through, and the major trees are marked. This particular strand of rope, I already pulled the tension off of it, but it ends right at this tree, which is convenient. And now stretch it out further that way, and it looks like these larger pines is going to be just an absolute perfect perimeter right here. Just a perfect row going in this direction, which is great because the rows are actually planted left and right in this orientation. So the fact that these line up is just bonus. Leaving the cans right where we have to start marking going forward, grabbing this and walking that way. And so far I've been pretty good at just guessing where to stop. Where the other end ends up right there. Kind of got to keep my line of sight going this way-ish. Where's the trees? I got one here marked, one there, and then one there marked. So that's not quite straight. Where's the actual... Aha! So this is straight, and then the one behind it's straight. This one I marked as an outlier. That one actually should come down. Okay, I'll go axe chop off that paint so he knows to take it too. But let's pull it this way. Pull this way. Let's see, I guess we go onward with these larger pines. Here we go. Every now and then I'm gonna try and make heads or tails out of which direction I'm going. Okay, so I'm actually going a little bit too far to my right. I need to stay this way a little bit more. Let's go back around one of these trees. You get the idea. I think I wasn't exactly on those like I thought I was, so I'm gonna get this one marked out. So why the two marks? Why the one mark? Why the orange paint? Well, there's a very specific reason for that, and that is, I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go. I don't know if there's any industry standard marking system. All I'm saying is, hey, that's orange, it stays. That's my marking system that me and the land clearing guy have in understanding. And then of course 2 lines is the back perimeter. So the clearing goes this way, obviously. Single line on these 2 sides running parallel with the can, double line on this back side running parallel with the can. So now I'm kind of in a funk because on the other side it looked like a clear path. This side there's no real direction. So what I'm going to do is probably take a little bit of time off camera, and I've got the gist of the direction from this paracord line coming out, so I can kind of eyeball a right corner, a right angle here, and just kind of walk that way until I figure out where my marking is. and then get my bearings in place, and then just kind of sporadically mark in between and see if I can't just connect these dots a little bit. You know what? I'll probably mark the ground in between, because that way if I mess up, it's just ground, it'll wash off. And then once I have a better bearing with the ground marking, then I can mark the tops, mark the trees at eyesight, so it's easier for him to see. Yeah, that's the plan. All right, so I went to the back right corner, which is that way. There it is. Get my bearings right. That tree, maybe you can see it, it's marked right there. That tree goes that way, 400 feet, 200 feet that way, right? So then I started going this way, marking, and I got to right here, this next tree, and I thought, I just don't know if I'm staying on course, right? So that was the second corner I marked. That was the last time you saw the paracord. And then I said I'm gonna go this way, back and forth a couple times to try and figure out this back wall. Well, I thought, you know what? I'm struggling to find the midpoint back here. So why don't I go back to the trail and hit the 200 yard mark that I've marked out. So right in the middle of the clearing, and pull back 2 lengths of the string. And I did. Right here is the second length of the string right there. So this is 200 feet back. And technically speaking, this is where the middle back should be. And I've already marked those. So not bad. 10 feet off, and I stopped right in the middle. So this makes me feel a little bit better. That way, now I know that I'm a little bit too far back. So on this direction, I'm actually veering away from the corner a little bit in this direction. So the next few markings, I'll just kind of shift a little bit this way and just try and figure out where it ends up on that corner over there. So using this midway point with the paracord, pretty good idea, I think. That's helping me out a lot. Which is also interesting because I said I was going to start marking the ground. There's a ground mark I just found. So yeah, I wasn't far off at all. Not too shabby. I just finished marking the clearing and did a couple different estimations as far as how much material that I'm going to be able to harvest and keep. So it's the rectangle is basically 200 feet by 400 feet, and I was guessing as I counted on my way out about 10 trees to harvest along the length of that 200 length as I was walking out. So about 10 trees, which makes sense because just looking around as I'm standing here, I can see that they're spaced about 20 feet apart on average. Some of them much longer than 20 feet apart, and then a couple of them that are kind of clustered together. So I would say they average a spacing of 20 feet. They're all massive trees as far as I'm concerned. These are old growth. Just looking at my side-by-side up against one of them, right? So you can use some approximations. The height of the side-by-side, how many multiples of it, when you back up, how many multiples of it to the top of a tree. You know, it looks like a good 40 feet of usable log out of each one of these trees. Ish, 40 feet. Let's conservatively say 30 feet, okay? 30 feet of usable log out of each one of these trees. You cut that down into 10-foot sections, so let's assume that each one of these trees will yield 3 10-foot logs, obviously 3 different diameters because it's going to get smaller as it goes up, but pretty big at the base. So 3 logs per tree. And if we have a spacing of 20 feet on average, well, that 200 by 400 foot rectangle provides a grid of 20 times 10, so 200. A grid of 200 trees that are inside this 2 acres that we're going to take down. So do we get all 200 of those trees on average? No, we're not going to get all those 200 trees because that 200 includes the perimeter and the area. The perimeter on 3 sides is staying there. The 2 sides that I marked initially, and then that back side, that perimeter is staying there. And the perimeter on this trail that I'm pacing up and down, well, of course, it's over here, and this whole line is coming down as well. So we do take that line out. So 200 maximum number of trees, which sounds like too much. And then you take the 10 trees off of one short side, the 10 trees off of that other short side for the perimeter. We're down to 180 trees. And then that back wall, the back perimeter, is 20 trees long-ish. But those corners are already taken care of, or they're already accounted for. So rather than 20 trees, we remove 18 trees. So there we're at 162 trees. 162 trees times 3 logs per tree. That's a ridiculous number that I can't come up with right now. Basic math. So anyway, you know what? Let's just be a little bit conservative with that number. 162 trees just sounds like too much. I mean, they're in there. There's a lot of trees in there. It's only 2 acres. I'm thinking the 20-foot spacing of the grid is a little bit too generous. I think it might be 22, 23 feet on average. So I'm gonna drop down that 162 estimate to 150, just because I think it's a little bit more realistically speaking, and also because, well, it's easier for math. 150 trees is much easier to multiply by 3 to get 450 logs. 450 logs? Are you kidding me? That's going to be a wonderful stockpile to have. So yeah, I do need to get a sawmill. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So this was a very productive little marking experience for me to just get a better grasp of reality. Like, what is this 2 acres really going to look like? What is this 2 acres really going to yield? How much work can I get done on 2 acres? Well, a tremendous amount, because everything that I've done previous to this has been on properties that were less than 1 acre. The house we left in the city that had, well, within the city limits, it was only 700 people in the city, but within the city limits, it only had 0.8 acres, if I'm not mistaken, or 0.89. Anyway, it was less than an acre. The house before that, and that one had the 30 by 40 shop on it. The house before that, where I was working out of the 2-car garage, that was a smidgen more, but if I'm not mistaken, it still wasn't 1 acre. Before that was when I got married and we were in an apartment complex. So working out of an apartment building, that well, you you don't really have any outdoor space at that point to work, not much anyway. And then before that was when I purchased my first property right out of high school, and it was exactly 1 acre, but only half of that acre was usable. So I don't know what I'm going to do with having 2 acres to use, let alone those 2 acres being in the middle of this 101 acre paradise. Man, life is good, friends. Life is good. This is the point where I'm rambling. You guys know the drill. I will talk to you in the next video. Take care.